I wasn't expecting my ego to get wrecked by a woman holding a clipboard decorated with pumpkin stickers. That was my first thought when I met Olivia Hart. It was the Friday before my company's annual Halloween charity gala, the biggest event in Boston's corporate calendar, and my mood was as polished as my marble office floor. I'd built my empire from the ground up, turned failing real estate into gold, and become the youngest CEO to make Forbes' top list before 30. But apparently, none of that impressed the new event planner I'd just hired. "You're late," she said the second she walked in, standing by my panoramic window like she owned the skyline. I blinked. "You're in my office," she shrugged, tapping her pen against that ridiculous pumpkin clipboard. "You were supposed to meet me downstairs 20 minutes ago. I figured billionaires need extra time to adjust their schedules to real-world minutes." My jaw actually dropped a little. "You just call your boss late?" "You're not my boss, Mr. Drake," she said, smiling slightly. "I'm contracted for the event, not your payroll." Confidence, witty, sharp, dangerous combination. I leaned back in my chair, letting my tone drip with sarcasm. "So, Miss Hart, do you always start client meetings by insulting them? Because if that's your pitch, you might want to work on your delivery." "I don't pitch," she replied, scanning her notes. "I deliver results. You'll thank me later." Most people sucked up to me. She clearly hadn't gotten that memo. I watched her move, efficient, grounded, not a hint of nerves. Her hair was tied up loosely, a few strands falling as she flipped through papers. She wore a simple cream blouse and tan pants, but somehow managed to look composed, like chaos bowed to her, not the other way around. I should have dismissed her attitude. Instead, I was entertained. "So," I said, standing up and walking around my desk, "you're planning the gala that half of Boston's elite will attend. Tell me something, Miss Hart. What makes you think you can handle that pressure?" She looked up at me, unimpressed. "Because I don't care about your elite. I care about the cause. The children's hospital your company's donating to. You want glitz? I want meaning. Let's hope we can meet in the middle." It wasn't the answer I expected, and it hit me harder than I wanted to admit. "Meaning?" I echoed, half a smile tugging at my lips. "Cute. But let's be honest, these events are about optics." She crossed her arms. "Maybe for you. For me, it's about people. You can keep your optics." That should have been the end of it. Another employee who'd learned quickly that pride didn't mix well with my world. But something about her words lingered long after she left my office. Maybe it was how genuine she sounded. Or maybe it was because she just called out the exact emptiness I tried to ignore. The next morning, my assistant barged in before I'd finished my espresso. "Sir, there's a problem with the venue lighting. Miss Hart's already there." I sighed, checking my watch. "At 8 in the morning?" She said, and I quote, "Real work doesn't start after brunch." I couldn't tell if she was taunting me or inspiring me to fire her. Either way, I ended up at the venue 15 minutes later, a massive restored hotel courtyard flooded with daylight and lined with orange and white banners. Staff buzzed around, adjusting props and floral setups. And there she was, giving orders like she owned the place. No, the pumpkins go by the archway, not the entrance. "This isn't a horror show. It's a fundraiser." I couldn't help it. I laughed, loudly. She turned, hands on hips, spotting me immediately. "You're early." I thought I'd surprise my favorite insubordinate contractor. "You mean micromanage?" "Semantics," I said, smirking. "So, boss lady, how's it going?" "Fine, if my client stops distracting the staff." Her tone was teasing, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of amusement. She didn't hate me. Not yet. I leaned against a table draped in black and gold linen. "You know, most people don't talk to me this way." "Then most people must be boring." I laughed again. "You might be right." And just like that, I found myself staying, helping move tables, checking decorations, even arguing with her over centerpiece heights. Somewhere between the frustration and banter, time blurred. When she accidentally spilled apple cider on my shirt, she froze. "Oh no, I grinned. "Relax, Olivia. It's just cider, not acid." "You're surprisingly calm," she said, dabbing my shirt with a napkin. "Don't sound so shocked. I can handle a little mess." Her eyes lifted to mine. Something unspoken passed, a softness neither of us acknowledged. Then she stepped back, clearing her throat. "Good, because this whole event's going to get messy before it's perfect." By Monday, the mansion-turned venue was ready. The Halloween theme was elegant. No fake blood or cobwebs, just soft orange lights, gold leaves, and daylight pouring through glass walls. It was classy, modern, and frankly, impressive. She'd done it. During our final walkthrough, I caught her admiring her work. "You look proud," I said. "I am," she admitted, her voice warm. I wanted people to feel like Halloween could still mean hope, not just fear. I found myself smiling genuinely, something rare for me. "You know, I think you just made my PR team's year. Your PR team can send me a thank you card." Her sarcasm was effortless. I liked that. Too much. As we stood in the bright afternoon light filtering through the courtyard, she turned toward me. "Why do you even do these events, Mr. Drake? I've read about you. You don't exactly strike me as the charity type." Her honesty caught me off guard. I hesitated before answering. "Because sometimes you need to pretend you're not as cold as you feel." The air shifted between us. Heavy, fragile, real. For a second, she didn't say anything. Then softly, "Pretending's exhausting. You could just start being real." She walked away before I could reply. The day of the gala arrived. The courtyard buzzed with daylight, chatter, and polished laughter. Cameras flashed, reporters smiled, and I, the supposedly cold billionaire, wore my best mask. But I kept glancing at her. She was across the room, managing everything with precision. Her energy grounded me, until a photographer caught her standing near me. Someone snapped a picture, and before I could stop it, it hit the gossip feed. Drake's mystery woman at charity gala. By afternoon, the photo was everywhere. I found her backstage, furious. "You didn't warn me about this circus," she snapped. "I didn't ask for it either," I said quickly. "I'll handle the press." "Oh, sure," she said, crossing her arms. "The billionaire will handle it. Must be nice having that power." I stepped closer, my tone lowering. "You think this doesn't bother me? They turned you into a headline. That's not fair to you." Her anger faltered, replaced by something more vulnerable. "Why does it bother you?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Because the truth was, I didn't know. Maybe because she saw me differently. Maybe because, for once, someone didn't see Drake the brand. Before I could figure it out, my phone buzzed. A reporter wanted a statement. Olivia exhaled sharply. "We're stuck with this story now, aren't we?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, looks like we're going to have to face it together," and there it was, the trap neither of us saw, coming. The forced proximity. The public pairing of a billionaire and the woman who didn't believe in his world. And as she turned away, muttering about crisis plans and press statements, I couldn't help but think maybe Halloween wasn't the only thing haunting me this year. I wasn't used to being the headline, not for scandals at least, but waking up the next morning to see billionaire CEO and mystery event planner, Boston's hottest Halloween duo, plastered across every digital feed felt surreal. I stared at the screen, coffee untouched. Olivia's face was right there next to mine, caught mid-laugh during the gala. We looked happy, natural, like something real existed between us, even though it shouldn't have. My assistant barged in without knocking. "Sir, the board's asking if you're in a relationship." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "Tell them I don't discuss my personal life." "And Miss Hart?" I glanced up. "What about her?" "She's downstairs." "And she doesn't look happy." I smirked faintly. "When does she ever?" She was waiting in the lobby, arms crossed, phone in hand, scrolling through the gossip articles. Her hair was pulled back, jaw tight. All business. "Congratulations," she said the moment I approached. "You've successfully turned me into your PR stunt," I sighed. "Olivia, don't Olivia me," she snapped. "People are calling me a gold digger, a fake. My inbox is flooded with reporters asking how long we've been secretly dating." "Relax," I said, trying to stay calm. "This will blow over in a day or two," she glared. "You have no idea what this does to my career. I can't plan events if people think I sleep my way into them." That one hit hard. "You think I'd let that stand? I'm already calling my media team to issue a clarification." She folded her arms. "What clarification? That you're too good for me?" I looked at her, really looked at her. The frustration in her eyes wasn't about headlines. It was about pride, dignity. She'd worked for everything she had. "I'll fix this," I said softly. Her voice softened too, but only slightly. You can't fix everything with money, Ethan, I froze. It was the first time she'd used my name. By noon, we were sitting side by side in the company's media lounge, forced into damage control. My PR head, Miranda, spoke briskly. Here's the plan. You two appeared together once, purely professional, to show there's no romance, just collaboration. It'll kill the rumor cycle, Olivia frowned. So now I have to publicly deny something that never existed? I leaned back, smirking. Don't sound too disappointed. Her glare could have melted steel. You wish. Always, I murmured under my breath. She heard me. Of course she did. The next day we met at the venue again, this time to stage a post-event interview. The sunlight was harsh, bouncing off the marble columns. Olivia stood beside me, perfectly composed, while cameras flashed. The reporter smiled. Mr. Drake, Miss Hart, rumor has it there's more than professional chemistry between you two. Care to comment? I was supposed to deny it. That was the plan. But when Olivia's nervous gaze flicked toward me, I said something else. Miss Hart is one of the most talented event planners I've ever worked with, I said. If people see chemistry, maybe it's because great partnerships are built on trust and respect. Olivia blinked, surprised. For a second, her expression softened. The reporter laughed. So, that's a no? That's a professional yes, she said quickly, shooting me a warning look. The crowd chuckled. When the interview ended, she turned on me. You just love making things complicated, don't you? Only when it's fun, I said, grinning. You're welcome, by the way. You came out looking like a star. I didn't ask for that spotlight. You didn't have to, I said quietly. You earned it. Something shifted then. The air between us warmed. She didn't respond, but the tension softened, like the wall she'd built was starting to crack. Over the next week, she was in my office constantly, coordinating a follow-up press conference and final reports for the charity donors. Forced proximity wasn't part of the contract, but fate clearly hadn't checked the fine print. Do you always work this much? She asked one afternoon, glancing at the stack of papers on my desk. Do you always question your clients? Only the ones who look like they haven't smiled properly in years. I raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? You wear confidence like armor, she said, leaning against the desk. But you're tired underneath it. Why? I looked up from my screen, thrown off. You analyze all your clients like this? Only the ones who fascinate me. Her words hung in the air, playful, curious, too honest. I forced a smirk. Careful, Miss Hart, that sounded dangerously close to flirting. She rolled her eyes. Don't flatter yourself. But her smile lingered. That night, she stayed late at the office, reviewing reports by the window. The afternoon sun was fading to gold, spilling light over her shoulders. I poured 2 coffees and handed her one. Black, no sugar, right? Her brow arched. You remember? I make it my business to remember important details. She took a sip, her lips curving slightly. So what's my middle name? I smirked. Nice try. You'll have to give me something to work with first. Not happening, she said, laughing softly. I like mystery. You and me both. We fell into an easy silence, the kind that didn't need filling. For once, my office didn't feel sterile. It felt alive. 2 days later, she showed up in a bright orange sweater, a nod to Halloween week, and I couldn't stop staring. What? She asked, catching me. Nothing. Just didn't expect my office to get that much color. Don't tell me you hate orange. I hate anything I can't control, I said before I could stop myself. Her expression softened. That's a sad way to live, Ethan. Maybe, I admitted. But it's predictable. Predictable isn't living. Something about her voice, calm, sincere, got under my skin. I leaned against the window, looking out at the city. You know, I built all this so I'd never have to depend on anyone again. But lately? She prompted. Lately, I'm realizing control doesn't stop you from being lonely. She said nothing, just stepped closer and placed her folder on my desk. You don't have to prove anything all the time. Her words stayed with me long after she left. By the weekend, the gossip had finally faded. But something else had replaced it, a tension between us neither could ignore. We were supposed to review the final donor reports that morning, but we ended up walking through the venue courtyard again instead. The Halloween decorations were still up, gold leaves, pale pumpkins, sunlight flickering across the marble. She smiled. It looks so different without the crowd. Quieter, I said. Peaceful. Haunted, she teased. I looked at her. Only by thoughts I shouldn't have, she froze. Ethan, I stepped closer. You ever think about what would have happened if we'd met under different circumstances? Her breath hitched. You mean if you weren't my boss? If I wasn't pretending not to care? The air felt electric, warm, bright, dangerous. She shook her head, forcing a smile. You're not ready for someone like me. Try me. Ethan, whatever this is, it can't happen. I don't mix business with emotion. You already are. Her eyes flicked away, guilt and confusion swirling. You don't understand. I've seen what men like you do when they're bored. I won't be another lesson. I reached for her hand, but she stepped back. Olivia, she looked up, eyes glossy but firm. You need someone who won't challenge you. I'm not that woman, and before I could stop her, she turned and walked toward the sunlight spilling through the courtyard doors. My chest tightened, the same way it did years ago when my ex-fiancé had left. The day I swore I'd never feel that hollow again. But this felt worse. Because this time, I didn't lose someone who betrayed me. I lost someone who made me want to be better. Later that afternoon, my assistant walked in. Sir, the media's running a story again. I barely looked up. What now? She quit. They're saying you pushed her out after the rumors. I froze. What? She emailed HR. She's leaving Boston, going back to New Hampshire to take another job. For the first time in years, I didn't know what to say. The room was silent except for the hum of the city below. She'd walked away before I could tell her the truth, that I wasn't the man she thought I was. I'd always believed damage control was my specialty. You mess up, you fix it, you move on. But what do you do when the damage isn't to your reputation? It's to your heart? It had been a week since Olivia left Boston. A week of walking into an office that suddenly felt too quiet, too polished, too perfect, like the oxygen had been vacuumed out of the building. Everyone around me thought I was fine. The papers moved on to another story. The gala had broken donation records. And the company stock even ticked upward. But none of it mattered. Because she was gone. I'd made her believe I was exactly what she accused me of. Cold, calculated, incapable of caring about anyone but myself. And the worst part? I hadn't even tried to stop her from leaving. By the third day, I found myself driving toward New Hampshire without telling anyone. I told myself it was business, a potential property site near Lake Winnipesaukee. That was a lie, of course. I knew exactly where she'd gone. Her new company's website had proudly announced her hiring. Hart Event Design expands. Olivia Hart to lead new division in Concord. I sat in my car outside the small, bright office building, staring at the sunlight bouncing off the windows. There she was, inside, laughing with a client, clipboard in hand again. The same woman who'd walked into my life and turned it upside down. For a moment, I just watched. She looked happy, lighter, and that's when I realized what scared me most. Maybe she was better off without me. I should have left. But then she turned and her eyes caught mine through the glass. She froze. Her smile disappeared. Then she walked out the door. What are you doing here? She asked, her voice low but steady. Trying not to regret everything I said to you, I admitted. Her eyes narrowed. You shouldn't be here, Ethan. You made your point. You made my choice easy. I didn't mean for you to quit, didn't you? She asked sharply. You said we couldn't mix business with emotion. You wanted control. Well, congratulations, you have it. I'm gone. Olivia, please. No, she said, folding her arms. You don't get to please me now. You get to live with the way you left things. The truth stung because she was right. I messed up, I said quietly. But not for the reasons you think, she scoffed. Then enlighten me. I exhaled, staring out toward the sunlight cutting across the parking lot. I didn't push you away because I didn't care. I pushed you away because you made me care too much. And that scared the hell out of me. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. I took a step closer. You said I wear confidence like armor. You were right, but you're the only person who ever tried to see past it, and I didn't know what to do with that. Her expression softened, but her voice was still firm. You don't get to hide behind fear, Ethan. You hurt people when you do that. I know, I said. my voice cracking slightly. And I'm done hiding. 2 days later, I called my assistant and canceled every meeting for the week. I had an idea. Stupid. Grand and absolutely uncharacteristic of me. Halloween had just passed, but the decorations were still up all over town. Orange leaves, pumpkins, ribbons on lampposts. The perfect setting for a little redemption. I called her office and left a message with her receptionist. Tell Olivia to meet me at the old community hall at noon. It's important. When she arrived, she looked suspicious. What's this about? The hall was decorated, not for a gala, but for her. Daylight streamed through the windows, illuminating a room full of simple orange and gold accents. Her colors, her style. On the main table sat a plaque. Heart Event Designs, in partnership with Drake Enterprises. Her jaw dropped. What is this? It's my apology, I said. And my offer. She looked at me warily. Go on. You said I use events for optics. You were right. But this time I want to use them for something real. You'll have full creative control, your own budget, your own team. No strings attached, she frowned. Why would you do that? Because you deserve to build something that's yours. And because... I swallowed hard. Because I need you to know I can do something selfless. For once, she blinked, caught between disbelief and emotion. You think this fixes everything? No, I said honestly. But it's a start. We walked around the hall in silence for a moment. The sun poured through the windows, painting her in gold. I don't want your money, Ethan, she finally said. I wanted honesty. I'm giving you that too, I said, meeting her gaze. I don't know how to do this, or relationships, trust, any of it. But I'm trying. Because losing you showed me that all the success in the world means nothing if there's no one to share it with. She crossed her arms, biting back a smile. You rehearsed that, didn't you? Every word, I admitted. And I still nearly chickened out. A soft laugh escaped her, small but real. I missed that sound, I said quietly. She hesitated, then sighed. You really do make things complicated, only for the people who matter. Her eyes glimmered, the fight in her slowly melting away. I don't know if I can trust this yet, she whispered. Then don't, I said. Not yet. Just stay, let me earn it. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was fragile, hopeful, like the start of something that might finally go right. The following weeks changed everything. She accepted the partnership, reluctantly, at first, and started working from our Boston office again. Only this time, it wasn't about obligation or damage control. It was about rebuilding something real. We spent our mornings arguing over creative pitches and afternoons laughing about ridiculous client requests. Slowly, the tension that once divided us began to feel like connection. I caught her smiling more often. And for once, I smiled back without feeling like it cost me something. One afternoon, she walked into my office holding a small pumpkin-shaped mug of coffee. You've officially converted me, she said. To what? To your caffeine addiction, I laughed. Took you long enough. She set the mug down, then leaned against my desk. You're different lately. Maybe I finally took your advice. Which part? The part about being real. She studied me for a long moment, then smiled, a small, knowing curve of her lips. It suits you. On the first warm day of November, she invited me to walk through the city's autumn fair. The streets were lined with orange banners, daylight bouncing off glass storefronts, and children running around with caramel apples. This is your scene, I teased. Wholesome chaos. Better than boardroom chaos, she said. I watched her laugh as she tried a pumpkin pastry from a vendor. For the first time in my adult life, I felt content, not because of wealth or achievement, but because of something as simple as this. Her smile, the sunlight, the noise of a city alive. I reached for her hand, cautiously, almost afraid she'd pull away. But she didn't. Her fingers slipped into mine, warm and certain. She looked up at me. You know, I didn't think you'd ever be the type for fairs. Neither did I said. But then again, I didn't think I'd meet someone who'd make me like Halloween either. She laughed softly. You're impossible, and you're irreplaceable, I said. That's a terrible combination, she tilted her head. Maybe it's the perfect one. I smiled, realizing something I'd never thought I'd say aloud. I used to think control kept me safe. But now I get it. It just kept me lonely. She squeezed my hand gently. And now, I said, looking at her in the warm daylight, I think I'm done pretending not to care. When she smiled up at me, I knew redemption wasn't about grand gestures or fixing every wrong. It was about letting someone see the man beneath the armor and not running from it. Turns out, I didn't need another deal, another headline, or another win, just a reason to stay, and she was it. If you like the story kindly, like, share, and subscribe the channel.